today we are going to talk about the launch of a really exciting company in India. Some of you may have already heard of it, but if you haven't, then you're going to hear a lot about them in coming days. And the company's name is BlaBlaCar. So BlaBlaCar, okay, go ahead, you can do it. BlaBlaCar is world's largest city-to-city ride-sharing online platform. And today, they're going to open the gates to India. There are a lot of reasons why this launch is really exciting, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them in detail now. BlaBlaCar is one of the fastest growing travel startup in the world, and it's a company with a truly great vision and an amazing product. And we'll hear a little bit more about the product in a little while. And the amazing part is they recently raised a whopping $100 million from Accel Partners and Index Ventures. Now, why is it really important? They are taking up a challenge in the Indian transport industry, and that is road efficiency. And there is no place for India to really leverage it now. On that note, I would like to call Nicholas Brusson on stage. He's the co-founder and CEO. At the same time, he's leading the international growth for the market. Nicholas Brusson. Yeah, please. Joining him on stage, we have Raghav Gupta. He is the country manager for India. He's the one leading the launch, and he's going to define the value proposition for the market and take BlaBlaCar to new heights. Welcome to India. Amazing to have you on stage. And I think they will be talking a little more about the vision and what the company is about. I'll leave it to gentlemen, and post that we'll have a nice little chat.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction and the kind words. So what I'd like to do, we're going to show you a quick video introducing the service, but before I do that, I just wanted to say it's pretty amazing for us to be here. I think if a year ago we had said we would be here with the team actually launching in India, people would have smiled, but actually here we are. So to give you a sense of scale, actually, 3-4 years ago, the company was about 15 people. Today it's about 200 people. We hire 15 people almost every month. And to launch India, actually, we have a team that's over there of 15 people just to launch India this week. So what I'd like to do before we launch the video is thank the team. The guys have been working like overnight for the past week, but they've also been working for months actually to make this launch possible. So thank you guys. Can we launch the video?
It's difficult to get from city to city. Buses are crowded and uncomfortable. You need to plan weeks in advance to get a train ticket. While the country sees car ownership growing 12% per year, car travel uses so much fuel that it's unaffordable on a long journey. And with India's annual fuel import bill of $150 billion, it's not sustainable for the country long term. But BlaBlaCar, an innovative app hugely popular in Europe, is about to make city-to-city travel affordable and comfortable, even last minute, across India. BlaBlaCar connects car owners and co-travelers so they can share city-to-city journeys. Car owners avoid heavy driving costs by sharing them. Members choose to travel with each other based on detailed online profiles. Around the world, over 2 million members travel together with BlaBlaCar every month. And now, the travel revolution has arrived in India. Traveling from city to city will never be the same again. Community ride-sharing, comfortable, convenient. The BlaBlaCar app is free and available on Google Play and Apple Store.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicola, for coming down to India for the launch. From what we gather from the video, it looks like a very smart, social, sustainable solution for city-to-city ride travel. There are a couple of things I picked from the video, and I would like to go deep down with it. And I'm sure our audience has a lot of questions as well. First things first, why the name BlaBlaCar?
Okay, so maybe I'll start with that. So first, because we get the question all the time. So it's a good brand. But the real story is that we did not start with BlaBlaCar, actually. We started with a very simple name, which was covoiturage, which means actually a ride-sharing in French, when we studied that in France. And what we discovered actually in the early days, actually, is that people did not remember that name because it was a descriptor, right? So it was not a brand, it was not very emotional. And one thing actually our users remembered in the early days was one tiny feature in the product, which was the talkative index. So we introduced something so that actually car owners and co-travelers actually know how much they're going to talk in the car, which was this BlaBla index. And as you sign up to the service, you say, I'm a blah if you don't want to talk. So if you just want to listen to your radio and you don't want to engage in a discussion, blah blah if you're normal, and if you're super talkative and you want to engage in some like social discussion, you blah blah blah. And it made people laugh, and it was sort of a funny feature in the product. And in 2011, we decided to rebrand BlaBlaCar as a name, essentially. And today, to give you a sense of scale, actually, BlaBlaCar is a more recognized brand on Google Trends or all over Europe than Airbnb, right? So today we have actually more brand awareness in Europe than a company like Airbnb. So that's how far we've gone in 3 years, essentially.
So you mentioned that BlaBlaCar is a really viable name in Europe, but what brings you India? What's the opportunity you see in the market?
So maybe I'll start with that, and Raghav is going to have a lot more to say, but essentially a year ago we made a choice to go from a European footprint, so the service was working pretty much all over Europe, in France, in Germany, Spain, Italy, UK, Poland, and we've been doing this expansion for the last 3 years. And we decided, hey, it works in Europe. It's a fundamental need for people to travel between cities with a car, and we should try that outside of Europe. So there was a plan actually to expand the service starting essentially last year outside of Europe. We started with Russia, another big country, and we've seen phenomenal adoption. So we've seen Russia taking off like no other European country has ever taken off. So after that, we decided very quickly to go raise money, which led to the $100 million round led by Index, Axel, and some other guys, and launched new markets. So I started to talk to Raghav about almost a year ago, and we decided, hey, let's do it, and let's prepare for India.
So maybe I can add a bit about how BlaBlaCar will work in India and what the value proposition is as well. And let me take an example. So let's say I want to go from Delhi to Chandigarh. Now, I would have, 3 options, right? I could go, and let's say I want to do this trip in the next 1 to 7 days. So I could go onto a train website and I could try and book a Shatabdi. Very likely, I will get a waitlisted ticket for the next 2, 3 days, 5 days. I could go to ISBT and I could take a bus, but that bus is going to be crowded, it's going to be a bit uncomfortable, it's going to take a fair amount of time. And the third option I have is I could drive my car from Delhi to Chandigarh. The Shatabdi ticket is going to cost me about 600 rupees. My car, if I take it myself, is going to cost me about 2,000 rupees on petrol, toll, all of that. That's where a BlaBlaCar comes in. So the way we work is I could go onto BlaBlaCar as an owner of a car. I would go through a whole process of creating my profile, which gets verified and all of that. And then I would say, listen, Raghav Gupta is going from Delhi to Chandigarh. And if you're looking to do the same trip, you would come onto BlaBlaCar, you would search for Delhi Chandigarh, you would find me, you would kind of go through my profile and say, looks like a nice guy, hopefully. And then you would say, okay, Raghav, I'd like to come with you, and we do this trip together. And in the process, what we do is that if I take 3 people along, we share the cost of that trip, which is the petrol and toll. So if it's 4 people, each person kind of puts in 500 rupees. And the trip becomes, firstly, available, because the train ticket is not available. And secondly, it becomes possible for all of us to do a trip which doesn't cost the 2,000 rupees that I would have spent myself. So essentially, the value proposition is to enable people who are looking to travel in the next few days, city to city, at an affordable kind of a cost.
Right. So it sounds like a very innovative way to make travelers connect and have an overall social impact. Now, you are entering India at a time when the whole travel, or rather the cab or the sharing facilities in a very different sort of a scenario, because there are a lot of regulations, a lot of scrutiny around it. So how will you tackle safety, trust, more important, the regulation which the government is going to impose or is likely to impose? So how will you take care of that?
So maybe we should start, going back to why India, by the way, I'll probably say something dumb, but India is big, right? It's a big country, it's a big place, it's a large country. But it's not just big in terms of population, smartphone, Facebook accounts and everything. It's also big for what we do. So if you look at city-to-city travel in India, I mean, we've seen a number. I don't know if it's a real number, but it's 7.5 or 7.6 billion city-to-city train rides in India, which is just enormous, right? So that's the market we play into in a way, city-to-city, right? People going between cities. So going to regulation, essentially the thing to understand is we've built BlaBlaCar under, essentially it's based on two basic principles. I mean, the first one is we target like private car owners and private co-travelers. So there are no professional drivers, we don't have drivers per se, we just have car owners sharing that journey between cities. And by sharing that journey, actually what they do is they're sharing the cost of the journey, right? So they don't make a profit, they don't carry a commercial activity, they actually do a trip they would do anywhere for personal reason, and they just share their car. So it's something you could call like city-to-city carpooling, essentially. And today it's something that most governments in the world, actually, including India, tend to promote, right? So in terms of regulation, we don't really have an issue because we don't have like professional drivers, we just have people sharing journeys and not making a profit. So that's one of the key, and then we'll probably talk about trust, but I'll let Raghav detail some more in India.
So I just add to that. So one of the first things that we did when we started working on our preparation for India was to obviously look at what is the relevant regulation. So we went through a full exercise to look at what applies to us, and then we went and met the relevant authorities as well, and we said, listen, this is how we function. We are private cars. We are people like us, traveling together. It's about cost sharing. It's not about profit making. And it's not just about saying this, but the way our technology works is we do not let a car owner come onto BlaBlaCar and make a profit, because we suggest a price and we very carefully track and put a range that people can't put above. And we also cap the number of seats. So it's not going to be a situation where somebody can take an Innova, fill up 12 people in it, and take them from Delhi to Chandigarh and try and make it into a taxi service. So we explained that, and we were actually very encouraged with what the relevant authorities had to say, because they said, given traffic situation in India, right, given that trains are overloaded in India, this is potentially a very significant solution. So we were actually very, very happy to receive that kind of feedback.
Thank you so much for giving a detailed clarification on that, because it's a question which everybody is asking right now, and it's top of mind question for everyone. Nicola, you briefly mentioned that a BlaBlaCar can be used only through like a Facebook account or a Facebook Connect. First, how does that go about, and why is that like a criteria?
Yeah, so it all relates to essentially building trust and reputation in the community. So I talked about like your two principles for BlaBlaCar. One is sharing a cost sharing and not making a profit, and having like private car owners and private co-travelers. The other one is it's all community based, and you have a choice. So essentially, we don't send you a car, we don't send you a driver. You go on the platform, you become part of the community, and you're going to choose your co-traveler, you're going to choose your car owner, and there is a matching mechanism in the community. So the key for us, since the beginning, it's been sort of one of the pillars of the company, was how do we create trust in this community, and how do we enable people to trust each other and travel together? And essentially, you have two things, or two big blocks in trust. You have verification-based trust, which means that you're verifying your papers, your ID, and all kind of stuff, actually, all kind of documents, or all kind of accounts, actually, you can verify. And you have community-based trust, which I'll describe in a minute. So what we do as verification, essentially, is we link your account so that you cannot create multiple accounts. So we link your account to Facebook, right? And when we know you have like 2, 3, 4, 500 friends on Facebook, and we know it's you, so we have a linkage to your Facebook account. We link you to your mobile phone number. In other countries, we link you to your bank account, to your credit card, to your PayPal account, and so on and so on. So that's how we make sure, essentially, each account on BlaBlaCar is a unique account. So you have this uniqueness phenomenon. And then we rely on community-based trust, which is mostly people rating each other. So the thing we have not mentioned is whenever you ride with a car owner or a co-traveler, after each ride, you're going to rate each other. So I'm going to rate you, you're going to rate me, and we're going to describe the, essentially we're going to describe the experience, the driving experience, the social experience. And over time, you end up building this people-to-people interaction and peer reviews that become very powerful. And what we found every time we've done surveys on the community and we talk to our members, they value that aspect a lot more than any verification or hard verification we can do. So over time, it becomes very powerful. And in a way, we talked about that earlier, but that's almost the same way you hire people in a company, right? If you think of the way you hire people, of course, you're going to look at their degree and you look at sort of like hard signals. But at the end of the day, what do? I mean, you call your friends, you call people, and you try to get references. And it's more powerful to you than any hard verification. So we rely on this community-based trust, and Facebook fits clearly into that.
Definitely. We all know that you got a massive round of funding, but a couple of years down the line, I'm sure you would be looking at the monetization angle. So what's the plan there, and how are you looking at it?
So maybe I'll let Raghav describe what we're going to do in India, but the goal in India initially is not to monetize the service, and it's been the things we've been doing when we launch a country. So when we launch a country, we don't really bother about trying to make money, trying to extract a booking fee out of the booking. We focus on usage. And then eventually, we add more services and we introduce a booking fee. So the philosophy is like, first create value, and once you created value, you can always find ways to extract value. I mean, Facebook has done that pretty well, I think. So.
Great.
I just add a quick point to that. So I think what makes it very interesting, right, is currently every month we have 2 million people who travel with us. So if you think about it, right, every month there are 20 lakh people who travel with BlaBlaCar in the 13 countries that we are currently present in. But what makes it even more interesting is when you look at it from an India perspective, all of these are relatively smaller countries, right? I mean, with all due respect, but France is a very small country when you think about it from India, right? So I think given the challenges that hopefully we can address through a platform like BlaBlaCar, which is that travel infrastructure is not keeping up with the kind of aspirations people have from a travel perspective, we can, hopefully inform people and educate people about how BlaBlaCar works. Trust is critical to what we do. And like Nico explained, through this whole community that we create, where we enable people to choose who they travel with, we can get that going in India fairly well. And hopefully a year down the line, we can be in a pretty exciting situation.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, you talked a bit about the value proposition in India, but it's actually vastly different from Europe, right? In a sense that, and my feeling is the way we can disrupt or change the transport market in India is a lot more fundamental to what we've been doing in Europe. In a sense that, if you think of countries like France, Germany, Italy, UK, actually you have a pretty good, I mean, probably one of the best actually, transport network in the world, between the roads, the trains, the planes, and so on and so on. In India, you're in a country where demand is exploding for city-to-city travel, and the infrastructure is not catching up. So maybe it's worth describing the value prop in India and which is very different from anything we've
exactly.
seen, right?
Like you said, so today if you were to do London-Manchester by train, for example, the train ticket is probably £100 or something like that. But you could travel on BlaBlaCar and it'll be £15. So, it's that significant a difference. In India, we can't be that much cheaper than the train, but then the idea is to make the travel possible, right? I mean, if a young professional in Gurgaon wants to go home for the 26th January weekend, he can do that without worrying about a waitlisted ticket, without worrying about going to, a crowded train and things like that. So the value proposition is fundamentally different. And I also feel it's fundamentally coherent with what we really need in India.
Right. So you briefly touched upon the sort of the crux of BlaBlaCar, that's a members community based on trust. Now, how do you go about building that community in such a diverse environment like India?
So it's one of the big challenge we have is we actually are a multi-local company. Actually, you mentioned something the other day that I found really good, which was like glocal or glocal or glocal.
Local.
We're a glocal company. So meaning that essentially we need to create the use case in every country, right? So the fact that it works really well in Germany or the fact that it works really well in France doesn't make it work in any countries nearby because people do domestic travel. So one of the key challenge for us is to create enough liquidity initially, so to have enough car owners, enough co-travelers, so that they start matching and they start using the service, and the service become useful pretty quickly. And because people don't do that, and they've never done that at any scale, you need to educate the market. So we need to be pretty smart, actually, in our communication, our marketing, and the way we launch a country, because people don't look for us, essentially. So if you think on a Google type advertising, people are not going to look for ride sharing or car sharing or any of that. No people are looking for that in India. So we need to go and educate the market with educational content. And that's one of the things we've been improving over time. And it's also why today, all over Europe, people don't say I ride share from A to B, they say I take a BlaBlaCar from A to B. So it's almost becoming like a verb or a noun. So that's one of the key challenges, creating early liquidity in the marketplace, and then word of mouth kicks in.
Great to hear that. I know we are short on time, but I'll still have like one more question for you, and probably a question which is sort of really close to me. So you are here. Now, what's your plan for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Where do you see BlaBlaCar going now?
Yeah, so I guess the long-term vision of the company, I mean, well, let's start with an observation, which is, if you look at the way people travel, whether it's in Europe, in the US, and in most part of the world, actually, they mostly travel by car. So we have this feeling sometimes even in Europe that most people travel by rail, for example, or they fly between cities. Actually, they don't. 80% of the passenger traffic between cities in Europe, in the US, probably in Latin America, in India, in Asia, is actually done by car. And if you think of that, it's actually the most inefficient mean of transport because most cars are actually empty. So you have 2 or 3 empty seats in every car traveling between cities. So the inventory of seat, of passenger traffic between cities we tap into is by far the biggest in the world, right? And the fact that we're expanding BlaBlaCar today at a global scale, the vision is that clearly we could be building actually one of the biggest transport companies in the world, right? So just by the simple fact we tap into by far the biggest inventory of seat in the world. And the way we see that is we essentially building 2 assets. We're building this transport network, which is essentially what we're doing here in India, what we've been doing in Europe. But we touch upon trust. We're also building this trusted community. So we're enabling people to transact, ride share. Maybe one day they can actually transact something else in the community. So that's kind of the far future.
So I think we're almost out of time, but if anybody has questions for Raghav or Nicola, please feel to catch them at lunchtime. And one last time, thank you so much for coming down, and we hope to see you soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.